Good morning. Good morning, y'all. So I had to come in. Let me fix this. Come on. Early today because, first of all, I apologize. I said I was going to be back on last night, but did a lot of work and a sister was tired. Okay. So I did not come back on last night, which is why I'm on early and I'm going to do my full thing because I have another full day today and I probably won't be able to get back on in the evening, but we are going to spend some time together right now. Okay. All right. I got my hot tea here. It's very good. I normally use vanilla. What the heck is that stuff called? The vanilla cream. No, French vanilla cream. I love that. So when I use the French vanilla cream, I don't really need sugar because it's really sweet already. But I still put a little bit of sugar up in there. I'm from Louisiana. We like sweet stuff, okay? All right. So I want to talk to you about myths that we tell about learning. And I'm not just talking about in the workplace. It could be where you work. It is where you work. But it's also outside of work, the way that we think about learning and how that impacts what we do on a day-to-day basis, okay? So, but so let me tell you first of all, because I don't want to start talking and, take 10 minutes to get to the myths of learning. Let me just tell you right out. And I'm also going to put it in the description of this video, okay? So the 4 myths are, and then I'll go back over them. Number 1, learning is a discrete activity. That's a myth. That is not true. Another one, only human minds can learn. That's another myth. That's not true. Another myth is, I need a teacher to learn. Also not true. And the last myth about learning is that learning has a goal. Also not true. Okay. So and I'm going to go back over those in more detail, but I just wanted to get them out there. And again, I'll put them in the description in case nobody want to hear me talking. They could just read what the myths are and go on about their business. Okay. But for those of you who do want to hear me talking, okay. Now, yesterday was a trying day for me. Like it really was. It was trying. It was a learning day for me yesterday. Okay. Oh my goodness. So the course that I'm doing, okay, we're still creating it. Okay. So we have the idea, like we know what it is. We have a pretty good outline, but we still have to get in there, and do the details and stuff. And as the learning designer, I see things a certain way, in a way that the subject matter experts don't see it, and vice versa. They see stuff, in a way that I don't see it. However, I am the learning designer. Okay. Like that's why I'm here. If you don't want a designer, then you don't need me. Okay. But that's why I'm here. And when I say that something that's being done compromises the integrity of the design, and which then compromises the outcomes and the outputs, you need to listen. Okay. Because again, that's why I'm here. Now we can talk about it and stuff, but again, I'm the designer. Like I'm not telling you that as the subject matter expert, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to this, because you do. That's your subject. That's what you do every day, so I'm just going to help shape it in a way that people can actually learn something from it. So I really had a hard time yesterday. And again, what I don't like is that I like taking a consultant role. Okay. Don't just tell me to do this thing and I'll be like, okay, boss. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Okay. Because so we need to talk. We need to talk about this, because a lot of times what I know is that people make decisions when they don't know the whole story. Like they're saying, okay, do this thing. But first of all, you've never done it before. Okay. You just have an idea in your mind about how this is going to work. Okay. So what I did this morning is I reached out to some people and was like, listen, have you all used this before? Because I need to talk, because I haven't used it before. I don't know. I need to talk to somebody who's used it before. I need to, go on Google and see what this thing looks like and all that stuff, before I can say, okay, this is how we can add this to the design without screwing up everything that's already there. All right. So that's my little rant for the morning. I got my notes over here because I want to be sure I say everything. Okay. Now, I told y'all in another video that I was going to start to learn how to play Fortnite. I put a video up. The screen capture wasn't that good. My 10-year-old gave me some recommendations on how to make it better. So I'll look into that. But I don't like that game. I don't know how folks be just playing Fortnite all day long. And I mean, I do know how, right? That they like it. That's why they do it. They like it and it's competition or whatever. Excuse me. But I felt like, because in that game, you got to go and just be walking up in people's house and busting up furniture and stuff. I don't like that. I feel I feel like I need to knock first or something, to be invited in the house. I don't know. That's not, I don't like the game, but I will attempt to play it a couple more times it's just rude. It just seems rude. But that's not, it wasn't made for my age group, I guess, which is absolutely fine. So if you haven't seen the video, you can go, it's only like 5 minutes, but it's laggy. So, I probably wouldn't watch it either if I was, unless you're just real interested. All right. So let's get to it now. So I'm talking about the myths of learning. So first of all, learning. I talk about this all the time. I have a very different definition of learning than other people do. Okay. So when you think about it, the first place your mind probably goes to is school. School, or somebody teaching you how to cook, or I don't know, teaching you how to paint, how to write, something. Okay. Something formal typically is where our minds go to when we talk about learning. My definition of learning is very simple. It's the sharing of perspective and experience. That's learning. And what's interesting is that I define teaching the same way. The sharing of perspective and experience. Okay. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me get into that a little bit. I told y'all, we just gonna hang out today and talk about this thing. All right. Sharing a perspective and experience. So first of all, sharing is also not what you think it is. Okay. Sharing is not what we tell our kids to do. Okay. Why don't you share your cookies with your sister? Or share some of your blanket with your brother or whatever. That is not sharing. That's given and taken. Okay. Because when you genuinely and you're actually sharing, you're not losing or gaining anything. When you give and take, you're losing and gaining. And that's what they're doing. If I give you a piece of my cookie, I lose a piece of my cookie. Okay. That's not sharing. I'm giving you a piece of my cookie and you taking it. Okay. Now, sharing, there is no gain or loss. So for example, let's say if you look in nature, all right, and right now, the trees are sharing their oxygen with us. Okay. We are sharing carbon dioxide when we breathe out, or what, and whoever gives that thing. That's sharing. It's like a whole, there is no gain or loss. There's just sharing. Okay. like that. That's all it is. Right. And you see it a lot more in nature. I mean, we do it too, but we don't think like that. We really don't. We don't think like that. We think about gaining and losing. So I don't want to spend too much time on that. So sharing, that's learning, sharing of perspective and experience. Now, perspective and experience. Okay, right now, my perspective is coming through my eyes and all my senses. Okay, my touch, my hearing, and other. That's Cheryl's perspective. Okay. And my experience, that's my experience as well. So the perspective is, how I see and how I'm interpreting and experiencing what I see and feel and touch and smell and, taste, all that, right? When I drink this tea right here, that's my experience, not yours. You can't taste the tea that I'm drinking, okay? Now, learning allows me to share the drinking of my tea, okay? Because it's a sharing of perspective and experience. Now, how do I do that? How do I do that? I can't give you my taste buds, right? So we fit the way we see it, the way we believe it to be, is that contained in my body, this is mine, my experience, not yours. So if I want to share, if I want to see more, if I want to have a broader perspective, if I want to have a broader experience, the only way I can have a broader perspective and a broader experience is for someone to share theirs with me. Okay. That's how I see and experience more broadly. Right. And that's learning. Learning is the sharing of perspective and experience. Okay. I just want to get that definition because understanding that definition is important as we go through talking about the myths. Okay. And it'll make more sense as we talk about each myth for learning. All right. So the first myth, like I said, the first myth is that learning is a discrete activity. Okay. Which is not true. And again, that's when we think it in a more formal way. Like I have to go somewhere to learn. And once 12 o'clock hits, because the learning was from 10 to 12, then I leave that place and now the learning is all done. Okay. That's not what it is. Okay. So first of all, learning happens all the time. Okay. And it's based on something called intelligence. Right. And intelligence ain't got nothing to do with how much you scored on the ACT or whatever else, or if you're a Mensa member and none of that stuff. Okay. But we'll get back to that. Learning is not a discrete activity. It's a process. It's a process that's part of a bigger process. Okay. And three primary parts of the process. You have learning, evaluation, and growth or maturation. Okay. Learning, evaluation, and growth is like a continuous circle. Learning, evaluation, and growth. Okay. So you learn, and when you learn, you get more information, more perspective, you get, other experience and all of that stuff when you're learning. Okay. More knowledge and understanding and all that. And it can, now you can stop it from doing so, but it can lead to growth in various areas. So growth in your growth of your perspective, growth emotionally, growth spiritually, even physically. If you think physiologically, how you grow, how your body grows and stuff, that's a result of intelligence and learning. Okay. It's just a constant process, right? So learning, evaluation is you taking that stuff in, and growth and using it to grow some area of your life. Okay. Emotional, mental, whatever the case is. Okay. So learning is not just something that happens. I'm done. Okay. Let me go out and do whatever. If I want to learn again, I got to come here, stay for 3 hours because that's what the schedule says, and then go. Okay. So learning is not a discrete activity. Okay. It's a process that's part of a larger ongoing process. Okay. The next myth, only human minds can learn. That is not true. Okay. It's just not true. And you will find this. So when I was creating my evaluation model, one area that I went into is called biomimicry. Okay. It's if you go to biomimicry.org, you will see a lot of wonderful things. Okay. And biomimicry is very simply when we go to nature to solve human problems. Okay. Which is what I did for my evaluation model. I'm thinking in my mind, we have an organizational issue. We don't know how to evaluate learning programs very well. Okay. So what I did, I used a biomimetic process where I literally drove myself to the state park that we have here, one of those nearby here where I live. I got out the car and I started walking a path through the forest to help me think of a solution. And I'm looking at the trees, I'm looking at the leaves, I'm listening to the water, the birds, and all of that stuff. Now, I have to tell you, it was weird as hell because I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? But eventually I saw it and I found it, and I was able to identify the patterns and go into other stuff and all that. Okay. So only human minds learn is not true. Everything in nature learns, again, because learning is a process that's part of a larger process of learning, evaluation, and growth or maturation. Things in nature mature, don't they? They grow. They do that through a learning process. Okay. Now, when I get to one of the other myths, you'll see what I mean by that. Okay. The next one. I need a teacher to learn. That's another myth. I need a teacher to learn. Now, in the beginning, I told you learning and teaching are the same thing. They're both the sharing of perspective and experience. I do not need a teacher to learn. I just need me. All I need to do to learn is to share perspective and experience. Okay. I know it's getting weird, but I'm gonna bring it back around. Okay. We're gonna get there. Now, but so when we think about it, when we think of a teacher, again, we've been conditioned to think in a certain way, that a teacher knows more than you, is possibly older than you, is another human being, speaks your same language, believes the same things you do. So all of that goes under what we are conditioned to think a teacher is. Okay. Someone who's been appointed to do something and you haven't been appointed, so you can't do that or whatever. That's what we think it is. That is absolutely not true. Okay. Because learning is not about somebody else. Let me tell you, there was a story on Facebook, one of the news articles. I think it was USA 9, like a local one here. And let me get a drink of my tea. Hold on. I like it to stay hot. Even though I like cold tea, I like my hot tea to stay hot. Okay. There was a story about a school. I forget where it was. It may have been like Puerto Rico or somewhere like that. When they said that the school was shut down. And because the school was shut down, the kids could not learn. They had nowhere to go to learn. Okay. I understand what they're saying. Like, I get it. Okay. I get what you're saying. You need to open the school so the kids can go there and they can take the math and then whatever else they're doing, the science and all that stuff. I get that. But to say because the school shut down, the kids can't learn is crazy. Like, because it's not true. Let me just say that. It's not true. There are, oh my God, so many countries in Africa where the kids cannot afford the school fees, so they can't go to school. Now, and that contributes to two main things: delinquency, okay, because they ain't got nowhere to go, so they just around the world. But it also contributes to creativity and innovation. They got some kids over there in Africa, I'm telling you, doing stuff, creating things, building things that people over here in America with PhDs can't even dream of doing. Can't even dream of doing it. And especially they can't dream of doing it with the resources that they have, which is barely anything, but they're still able to just use the intelligence they have and the intelligence that's all around them to create and innovate. And they didn't go to class. They didn't go to no class. We don't need teachers, the way that we've been begun to, the way that we understand it here in America, we no, don't nobody needs that. Nobody needs you. Okay, if you're a teacher, an instructor, whatever you're doing, if you have the function of teaching, nobody needs you. And I say that about me too. Don't nobody need me right now. Me telling this to you, you don't need me to do that. You don't. You absolutely do not. And see, so when I go into places and I talk about the way that I design things, me saying nobody needs you is not taken very well, because nobody wants to hear that. Who wants to hear nobody needs you? Okay. But I cannot tell you how, once you get over your ego and your feelings, how refreshing that is to know, man, nobody really needs me. That really takes a whole bunch of chains off of you. You know what I'm saying? It does. And it gives people what was never taken from them. And that's their own accountability and their own responsibility and their own sight and their own intelligence and their own, So, okay, so that's that myth. Let me do the last one before I get more into this. Okay. So the last myth is that learning has a goal. Okay. That is a myth, because let's visit some of the other ones. Okay. First of all, it doesn't take a human mind. Again, it doesn't take a human mind to learn. You don't need a teacher to learn. And learning is not a discrete process. It's a process within a larger process. Okay. That has no goal. Sharing of perspective and experience has no goal. Trees, birds, humans, humanity, there's no goal there. I listen. Okay, let me just say, there's no goal there. The goal comes in. Let me tell you when the goal comes in. Okay. The goal comes when our human minds get a hold of it. That's when the goal comes in. And we call that education. We call that development. We call it, what else do we call it? We call it other things. We call it any kind of formal colleges. There's goals there. Any kind of formal thing, right? Where we're curating a whole bunch of stuff and saying, okay, training is another area where goals come in. We're curating this stuff and we're saying, okay, we're doing it for this reason. Okay. Now, when the goal comes in, there's two other things that come in right with that goal. Okay. And that's trust and delegation. All right. So learning has no goal at all. Learning is just sharing of perspective and experience. I ain't trying to get nothing from you. I'm not trying to get better than you. I'm not trying to think differently than you. Like, there's no goal at all. It's just sharing of perspective and experience. Okay. So let's say now, all right, now I want to go to training. I want to learn how to, what do I want to learn how to do? How to fix refrigerators. Okay. Now I'm going to go to training. I'm going to read the book. I'm going to do the practice. I'm going to get an apprenticeship and all that stuff, because my goal, okay, my short-term goal is to learn how to fix a refrigerator. And maybe my long-term goal is to start a business or to make a certain amount of money, a year or something. Okay. So those are the goals. Now with those goals come trust and delegation. And what that means is, when I'm learning, I don't need trust and delegation because there's no goal. Okay. But when there's a goal, I do. So when I'm learning to make refrigerators, I'm going to need collaborators to help me to reach that goal. Okay. So now that's where the needs come in. Now I need people. I have needs now. Okay. Because there's a goal. I need somebody to teach me. I need a refrigerator. All right. I need a manual. There's a certain time that I want to get this done. Okay. I'm not going to spend the next 10 years trying to learn how to fix refrigerators. I want to do it in a year. Okay. I'm going to need money. You hear all these needs coming along, right? All those needs are associated because now there's a goal. So now I need people and things to help me reach that goal. Those are my collaborators. The teacher is a collaborator. The computer I'm going to use in the class is a collaborator. My job is a collaborator because it's giving me the money to pay for the training. You see, now you got a bunch of there's a bunch of stuff going on now. As soon as you add a goal, right, you have all these collaborators that now I have to trust. I'm putting my trust in you to be able to help me to reach this goal. And we all have collaborators. Any kind of goal you have, and I don't care if your goal is to get from one side of the street to the other safely. Okay. You need collaborators in that. All right. A collaborator doesn't have to be a person. All right. If you have a dog, a seeing eye dog or something, your seeing eye dog is a collaborator to help you reach that goal. All right. But learning has no goal. The goal comes, sharing a perspective and experience has no goal. Again, the goal comes in when you purpose it. Okay. When you purpose it in training and education and stuff like that. Okay. All right. So those are the 4 myths of learning. Again, they are: learning is a discrete activity. That's a myth. Only human minds learn. That's another myth. I need a teacher to learn. That's a myth. And learning has a goal. That is also a myth. Okay. All right. So what are those implications? So I said, I've come to see that nobody needs Cheryl. Nobody needs Cheryl. Okay. Which is a liberating thing. That's very liberating for me. Okay. Because now I'm free to share perspective and experience. Okay. I'm free to do that. And by seeing that and practicing that, I get out of your way so that you can share perspective and experience. Okay. The best thing I can do for any other human being or person, and there's a difference between a human and a person. Okay. We ain't gonna talk about that right now, but I just want to let you know. The most holy thing I can do, okay, is to get out of your way. Is to get out of your way. And and that's what Ypifany is. Ypifany is about getting out, designing something so that in the most useful way, to just get out of the way of the learner so they can do what they already know how to do. You don't have to teach nobody to learn. Come on now. People already know that. Listen, my book right here, I held this up in the thumbnail. Longing to Learn, right? It's really small, but this is about getting out of people's way. All right. And I got in my own way a lot, which is why I found it. I just found stuff difficult because I'm tripping over my own feet, right? And then I had other people putting their leg out in front of me when I walk by. You know how you do that trying to trip somebody? Like that's what we do all day long. We're in people's way, calling ourselves, teaching them. No, you're not. You in my way is what you're doing. So that I can't learn. With all these, and that's why I don't use objectives anymore. Okay. It's not first of all, in the language that I use too, I don't say in this course, the student will learn. I don't know what the hell you gonna learn. I don't know. I'm not in your head. I don't know what you I don't know. What I do know, or what I am more sure of, because I don't know this either, but what I am more sure of is what you will hear, what you will see, because I got the materials. I'm talking to you right now, okay? Assuming your hearing is all right, I can say what you're going to hear, okay? I can say what you're going to do, because I got the activities right here, okay? I know that, but whether or not you're going to learn, I don't know, okay? I don't know, but what I can do is get the heck out of your way so that you can do what you naturally know how to do. You know, ain't nobody out there coaching acorns to turn into trees. Okay. Like you just sitting there next to the acorn, giving it training on how to be a tree. That's the same thing with people. You know, you and I say that about my kids, right? I have to step back a lot of times and let them share perspective and experience. I really do. And listen, I know how strict we want to be with children, pretending like what we actually say and do is going to have them grow up the way we want them to. Come on now. We got to give people room. We got to give them room. And that sounds like it would cause chaos. It does, doesn't it? Look, but again, I had to go back to biomimicry when I was thinking of this stuff, because I'm thinking this don't, come on now. I got to have some control in my classroom. I got to have some control, you know, put the reins on my kids and be like, oh no, you know, jack them back. That's how we say in Louisiana, jack them back, you know, so they don't go too far. Of course, it's for their own protection. I'm only telling you this so you won't make the same mistakes I did. Get the heck out of here. Come on now. If there's one thing we don't need training on, is how to make mistakes. Okay, people gonna make mistakes, and they have to. That's part of learning. Making developmental errors. I can't tell you how many developmental errors I've made. But the only thing is, you got to learn from that stuff. When you make developmental errors or mistakes or fail, you know, I can choose not to get anything from that. I can choose to stop that cycle. Remember the learning, evaluation, and growth? I can stunt my own growth if I want to. I can, and give no attention to what I'm learning. Sorry about that. Let me turn this on. I can do that. And I have done that. Believe me, I have done that. I've made mistakes. Knew they were mistakes. Knew they were terrible decisions, and chose not to use that to evaluate my situation. I just ignored it. Just ignored it. We can do that, right? We have that right. Ain't nobody forcing you to grow, you know, mentally and spiritually, and nobody forcing you to do that, right? You can choose not to. All right. So some of the things. So when I tell, okay, nobody needs you. Okay, so what does that mean? Where does that leave me? If nobody needs me as a teacher, a facilitator, as an instructor, as a whatever, okay, a parent, whatever. Okay, where does that leave me? Let's talk about the class. Let's, you know, keep it to the classroom and the more formal learning events, learning experiences. Okay. So Christopher Emdin, in his reality pedagogy model, he puts content as the very last thing you want to think about as an instructor. The last. Normally, most times, typically, content is first. That's the first thing you put together. What are we going to tell these people? Write those objectives. You know, that's first. He puts it last. And I love that he puts it last, because it's true. Because of all of the myths that I just read, content is last. Why? Because people don't need you. But what they do need, let me tell you what they do want. Let me say it like that. What's most beneficial, okay, is to discover, how are you going to get to know your audience? So think of yourself Normally, as a teacher, we're in front of the class, okay? Unless you're using a Socratic circle or something like that. But in any event, when you're the one in the group who has the function of teaching, okay? And it should be shared, actually. You should be a co-teacher, but okay. How are you going to get to know your audience? What's in your curriculum? What's in your class? What's in there that helps you to get to know who's in front of you? Okay, the next one. What's in your curriculum, in your class, that's helping you to relate to the people in front of you? And I don't care how old they are. The audience we have for this cyber is 6th to 12th grade. How are we relating? How is the instructor relating to that audience? Get to knowing them and relating to them. What is in the curriculum? What's designed into the class? That's purpose to move them. That's purpose to excite them about what they're going to be learning. Okay, what's designed in there to do that? These are harder questions. These are harder, okay? Because it's about learning. You're bringing more learning into it. You're bringing more sharing of perspective and experience into it. Not just telling people something and saying, just because I'm telling you, that means you're remembering it. That means you're learning it. And that means you're going to use it. That ain't true. Come on. That is not true. You want it to be true as the instructor or the teacher or whatever. You want it to be true. But first of all, what they learn is none of your business. Your business is what you are learning while you're standing in front of this audience. That's what your business is. And a lot of us need to mind our damn business. Okay. What's designed into the curriculum, into the class that involves everyone, that is allowing everyone to share? So the last panel that I did, I was very clear. So it was me and 3 other people on the stage, okay? And then there was the audience out there. In the introductions, I was very clear to let people know, even though we're on this stage, okay, we are not the only experts in the room, okay? And I did everything I could to call on and get them to co-teach everyone, you know, including us. If you standing up in front of somebody thinking that you're not there to learn, there is no learning happening. Learning is sharing. Learning is sharing. Okay. It's a like this. If this ain't going on, ain't nobody learning. You might be up there talking. They might be hearing what you're saying, you know, but you can just take learning out of, if you're not learning, that's how you gauge it. If you're learning, then you know that learning is happening out there too. Okay. If you're not, you can hang it up. You're just talking to people. And the last one, what is designed into your curriculum? And again, I'm not just talking about a classroom. Okay. Anyone whose function it is to teach. Okay. And that's many authority figures have a function of teaching. Okay. What's designed to invite them to care about whatever the topic is? What do you have in there? And I said invite them to care, because you can't make somebody care about, they have their own goal. Everybody in the room or wherever you are, everybody has their own goal. Okay. They're looking for collaborators towards their own goal. And even though the end of the class might be a certificate or certification or something, that may not be their end goal. They still have a goal. This class or whatever, this conference, this meeting, this whatever is just a collaborator to help them get to whatever the goal is that they've already set. Okay. And again, they don't need you. They don't need you. You're just one of many collaborators to help them get there. So how can you add value when you're not needed? You create space. That's what you do. You get out of their way. That's how you add value. You get out of their way. You create space for them to learn. So because I know that when we start developing or creating curricula or courses, okay? Whatever is already in reality, reality is the best teacher, the best, okay? The best teacher. Now, when I go in with my training, what I'm doing, I'm adding constraints and limits onto reality, okay? So how can I do that in a way that's freeing, that does not get in the way of learning? Okay. And I'm going to tell you how I don't do it. I don't put all these stipulations in place. You got to, research this thing. You got to post this thing. I mean, just down the whole line. Now that's about me and me being able to show somebody how wonderful I am as a teacher. That's not about them as learners, because that stuff gets tiresome. Listen, I came out of a program where we had to do all these evaluations and we had to post stuff and we had to write things and we had to, I mean, it got to be ridiculous, just totally ridiculous. Okay. Seriously, especially for adult learners, right? I mean, just totally ridiculous. And that's what we talk when we were outside. That's what we would talk about, how ridiculous it is. And most of the learning happened outside of what was structured. The structure shouldn't feel like a prison. Okay. And your sentence is to write all this stuff and post all this stuff and do, I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, but then okay. I'm not going to say that. Okay. So that's what it is. So that's the 4 myths about learning and some of the ways that we as teachers, as instructors, as facilitators, coaches, mentors, hypnotists, all that can get out of the way so that people can do what they naturally do. Okay. So that people can do what they naturally do. All right. I think that's the longest I've been on here. I really do. I think it's the longest. Okay. So like I said, I wanted to come on early to talk to you all because I did not come back on yesterday like I said I would, and I apologize. But if I can, I'll come back on later on today. But if not, I'll definitely see you again in the morning. So y'all have an amazing day. And I'll talk to you later.